Marvel Studios is back. What is up, everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my predictions for what I think Marvel Studios could be presenting in Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con 2024 this July. Before I get started though, make sure to subscribe and like this video. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll get into my breakdown of what I think Marvel Studios could be bringing to the table. So first of all, this is the most important showcase they've ever had to do. This must hook audiences back into the MCU and promise them big things. It's common knowledge to all of us that are fans of the MCU that lots of people aren't really connecting with the current story they're trying to tell and some recent projects that they have been pulling out lately. These announcements have to be powerful and get Marvel fans back into the multiverse saga. So I'm going to split this up between Phase 5 and Phase 6 and what I think their overall presentation could look like. So obviously you're going to have Kevin Feige on stage, and obviously he's going to have his roadmaps as usual. So for the start of their presentation, I'm predicting they're going to go over Phase 5, trying to, give us the path that they're on right now, give us some updates on certain things, and I'll get into this more specifically. Starting with Phase 5, they're going to show new release dates on the rest of Phase 5. At this point, we're around halfway through Phase 5 of the MCU, so they're going to show off like the rest of the release dates, any changes, all the updates since their last presentation. And this is where they should confirm where Blade is releasing and maybe address the situation on the pre-production. Obviously, it's been going through some creative hell lately. There needs to be some kind of hope to give to the audience to promise them that this movie is going to be okay. So they need to give a promise that it's going to be great, there's progress on it, and Mahershala Ali is still attached. That's what they need to say about Blade. After this, I think they're going to tap into Daredevil Born Again. I think Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio will appear on stage, provide more details and show the first full-length teaser of the series in front of the audience. Next, I could see them talking about Captain America Brave New World, because this is the next theatrical release after Deadpool and Wolverine. Right now it's coming out in February. I think this will probably have the director on stage, Julius Ona, and you're going to get a first look at some new footage. Obviously, there's been some shown at CinemaCon recently, so I can see them showing off more footage of that. Maybe get the first look at the Red Hulk, and then have Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford come out on stage and just talk about the movie and have a playful rivalry right there. After this, I could see them talking about Thunderbolts with an asterisk. For this, they'll probably have some of the cast on the stage. I'm predicting they're going to have Sebastian Stan, Florence Pugh, Wyatt Russell, David Harbour, and Hannah John Kamen. And you're probably going to get a first look at some footage because that wrapped production recently. I could also see them teasing the villain in this movie, and maybe Lewis Pullman walks out on stage after they reveal Sentry or something like that. If Sentry is the villain in this movie, then maybe he comes out and then he's, revealed officially as Sentry. After this, I could see them talking about Agatha All Along. This is a series coming in September on Disney Plus, and maybe, release the official trailer, and Catherine Hahn could be on stage introducing this thing to the entire audience. I think this would be a pretty logical decision on their part, having Catherine Hahn on stage, dropping a new trailer a few months out from its release. It makes sense. Next, I could see them talking about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is an animated series coming to Disney Plus. Maybe have Brad Winderbaum, the director of animation at Marvel Studios, come out, talk about it, provide new details on it, and maybe give an update on the release for that. Because at one point it was reported it would be coming later this year, but then that was taken away, so it's in a mystery area where we don't really know when it's coming out. So we're gonna have to see if they're gonna give any updates on that. Next, I could see Brad Winderbaum staying on stage to talk about Eyes of Wakanda, which is another animated series coming to Disney Plus, focusing on the covert operations that run in Wakanda, that group of Wakandans that go over in undercover missions, that kind of thing. And I could see them maybe showing some first footage of that, maybe give an update on that release as well, and just push that this is coming soon and it's going to be exciting. To round out the Phase 5 part of their presentation, I could see them talking about Ironheart. Obviously, this was announced years ago, and it's been in the can for quite some time, and I could see them maybe bringing out Dominique Thorne on stage, give an update on the release and tease her upcoming appearance and maybe something that's coming sooner than we think, and maybe show some footage as well. I think people are wanting to see something to at least get excited for this because it's been delayed so long. At this point, it's delayed indefinitely as of doing this. So, they need to do something to get people hyped up for this series that's coming out soon. Now, this is where they're going to be tapping into Phase 6 and pulling out that roadmap and really getting into rehashing where things are at this point. So in their last presentation, they only had Fantastic Four, Avengers The Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Secret Wars on that roadmap with multiple unrevealed projects in those different dates. So at this point, I think it makes sense for them to fully unveil Phase 6 of the MCU. So first, I think they're going to talk about the Fantastic Four, and this is where you bring out the director Matt Shakman on stage and introduce the cast to the audience. Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Backrack. I think having the four of them there would be really cool, and the audience finally gets to see them all together. This is where they could share new details about the movie, say like they're starting production soon, that kind of thing, and just get them really excited for the Fantastic Four coming soon. Next, I could see them talking about Wonder Man, which Kevin Feige recently officially said is a thing. Maybe have Yahya Abdul-Mateen II on stage, kind of introduce the character. Obviously, he's playing the character, so it would be cool to see him come out and introduce it. Maybe have a picture of him in the suit, and maybe give a release date for all of us to look forward to. Next, I hope they talk about Armor Wars. This was announced years ago when they were doing the Disney Investors Day, when they announced Secret Invasion, they announced Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special and all of that kind of stuff. And since then, we haven't heard anything really from Armor Wars except that it's shifted from a series to a film. Who knows if that's still what they're planning, but I really hope they at least talk about this. And if they do, I could see them bringing out Don Cheadle and Dominique Thorne on stage, share some details, and give a surprise appearance from Sam Rockwell, basically saying he's coming back in this movie. I really hope Sam Rockwell comes back as Justin Hammer in the MCU, and I hope it's in this project. After this, they could give the release date and, kind of give the fans some kind of a tease at who this villain might be if it's not Justin Hammer. Next, I could see them talking about Vision Quest, which was officially announced to be a series coming soon. Maybe they'll have Paul Bettany come out on stage, provide some new details, and announce that release date for this as well. Next, we could have Brad Winderbaum come back on stage and talk about Marvel's Zombies. So for this, he could maybe talk about some new details, show some footage of the show, what they've got so far, and give a release date as well. Kind of put that on the roadmap and give this as something that fans are really wanting to see in the animated world and get that officially dated. Next, I'm not entirely sure if they're actually going to do this, but I hope they talk about X-Men 97 Season 2 with Brad Winderbaum still on stage, maybe give some new details, maybe a peek at some test footage that they've got so far with the voice cast already have some of their roles in the studio, and maybe give that release date to say, yes, it's coming in the next year or two, that kind of thing. Now for some new projects, I could see them talking about Shang-Chi 2, which is confirmed to be in development with Destin Daniel Cretton returning to direct. So I could see Destin Daniel Cretton, Simu Liu, and Awkwafina coming out on stage to introduce this portion of the presentation. Maybe, tease some details, tease the plot, the villain, and maybe confirm that Iron Fist is going to be in this movie. This is something that I've been really wanting to see, and that they bring Kunlun into the MCU through Shang-Chi's franchise, and hopefully, the two of them get to work together at some point. Whether it's Danny Rand or Colleen Wing, I just really want to see Iron Fist interact with those characters. I think it would be really cool. So I hope this is what they announce with Shang-Chi 2 and give that release date as well. Next, I could see them introducing Thor 5, which was confirmed to be in development, but at this point, it's basically known that Taika Waititi is not attached to it anymore. But instead of just Thor 5, I could see this being an Eternals and Thor crossover event, with gods being the main kind of theme of the movie. So I could see Chris Hemsworth coming out on stage with Barry Keoghan, Lauren Ridloff, Kumail Nanjiani, Gemma Chan, Harry Styles, Brian Tyree Henry, and Angelina Jolie. So basically the remnants of the Eternals and Thor would team up in this movie. I could see this happening. And maybe, provide some details and have a surprise appearance by Brett Goldstein, who appeared in the post-credits scene to Thor Love and Thunder as Hercules. This is where he needs to come in and be a force in the MCU. So I really think this could be a possibility because there were recent rumors that Eternals 2 was kind of shelved and transformed into another project. I think this makes the most sense to have Thor kind of interact with them and give that release date as well for this. Next, I could see them talking about Moon Knight Season 2. This is a show that many people have been wanting to get a Season 2 since it came out, and at this point, I think it makes sense for them to make that announcement if they're really pushing for that supernatural side to come into the MCU with Blade, and they're trying to work that so much and perfect it to the point where it makes sense if they're trying to lean into supernatural. So just announce Season 2 of Moon Knight. So for this, I think they'd have Oscar Isaac on stage, tease what's next, and give us that release date. I think that's all they can do at this point for that. After that, I could see them announce a Young Avengers series on Disney+. So for this, you could get some of the cast on stage like Iman Vellani, Haley Steinfeld, and Catherine Newton. At the end of the Marvels, Miss Marvel was tasked with kind of putting together a team, and she goes to meet Kate Bishop and she name drops Cassie Lang, who is played by Catherine Newton. So I could see the three of them kind of being the core of that team right now, but it would be cool to see some other younger characters on stage with them. But as of now, I could really only see Iman Vellani, Haley Steinfeld, and Catherine Newton being on stage at this presentation. For this, they could maybe drop some details and give that release date for this as well. Next, I think this is inevitable. They're gonna name drop Black Panther 3. So for this, I think they're gonna have Letitia Wright, Denai Guerrera, Winston Duke, Michaela Cole, and Tenoch Huerta on stage. Obviously, this is after the Wakanda and Talokan war at the end of Wakanda Forever, and they're in an alliance at this point with some kind of, suspicious behavior from Namor at the end of that movie. So this, I think, could be the two of them trying to still work together, but another thing has been thrown into their conflict. So with this presentation, I think this is where they reveal some details, maybe announce that Ryan Coogler is coming back to direct this movie, and maybe tease that main villain in this movie. I really hope they can lean into this and make it Doctor Doom be the villain of this movie, have Latveria try to go at war with Wakanda and Talokan. I think this would be an awesome project in the MCU, and this would bring in Doctor Doom for a project later on in Phase 6. After this reveal, I think they'd have to announce that release date and say it's coming soon. Maybe, before Avengers 5 or in between 5 and 6. Next, I think this is where they announce Nova and give that casting announcement, maybe announce the writers and director of this project, share some details, and give that release date. I think this is a project that they have to talk about in this presentation because it's been confirmed it's in development, but we've heard nothing for a long time. So I think this is where they need to fully lean in and say, yes, it's happening. Here's who's playing them. Here's who's doing it. This is what's going to happen. Give us that release date because Nova is a character we've all been wanting to see for a very long time. After Nova, this is where they get to the real meat of the presentation. I think this is where they need to talk about Avengers 5, give the official new title of the movie because it's not called the Kang Dynasty anymore as far as we know, and maybe share a new logo with this title. This is where they could share some story details, maybe have some of the cast on stage, confirm some returning Avengers, maybe some new ones joining the team, and then announce that director who's doing this movie and give that release date. An updated one because I think in their last one, it was projected to come out 2025 and there's no way that's going to happen, but they are rumored to be beginning production soon. So maybe they're going to start to say, maybe in the next 2 years, we're going to see this movie. After this is where they can talk about Avengers Secret Wars, if this is still their planned finale for the multiverse saga. This is where they can share some new details, maybe confirm that they're going to split this into 2 parts, have Secret Wars Part 1, Secret Wars Part 2, or just have Secret Wars and then something like Avengers Forever or something like that as the last Avengers movie in this saga. I think they have to talk about this and give some hope to fans that this is still what they're leading towards and give them that hope that, yes, this is where Doom is going to start being the villain and, bring him in some way because he's so essential to that story. Then this is where they give the new release dates. If they're doing this part 1, part 2, they give those release dates. If it's still just a singular movie, then they give that one single release date. After this, when the audience thinks, oh, that was the big reveal, I think they need to talk about X-Men. Obviously, there were some writers attached to this project, maybe have them come out, announce the director of this movie, show some concept art of the team, and then share some details, tease the villain of this movie, and give a release date that, yes, this is the first Marvel Studios X-Men movie coming at this time. So after they're done talking about all these projects in Phase 6, I could see them ending the presentation with something huge. You thought Secret Wars was the end. You thought X-Men was the end. I think this is where they need to stick the landing. This is where you end the presentation with your villain announcement. Are you sticking with Kang? Introduce the new actor, bring him out on stage. Are you bringing in Doctor Doom? Introduce the actor, bring them on stage, and have that audience go crazy for whoever is coming out there, and give them the hope that yes, this threat is still happening, or this threat is coming, that kind of thing. You need to really build up the hype that this villain is not messing around, and Secret Wars is something you need to look forward to. So in the end, I think that's all that's going to happen in this presentation. I really hope that they really nail the fact that this is a saga you still need to believe in. Obviously, audiences need that at this point. So I hope this is what actually happens, or something similar to it. So if you enjoyed my breakdown and my predictions, feel free to share yours and let me know what you thought of mine. If you, again, like this video, please make sure to subscribe and like the video, and I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you all in another video. Thank you for watching.